Business Review, your daily source for the most critical financial stories. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.
The State Administration of the Foreign Exchange, SAFE, the spokesperson Wang Chungying, said that China's forex market remained generally stable in Q1, with yuan's exchange rate and the cross-border capital flows keeping steady despite the coronavirus-induced volatility of the international financial markets. According to the SAFE data, China's commercial banks reported a net forex settlement surplus of 273 billion yuan in the first quarter. Data showed that forex purchases by banks stood at 3.43 trillion yuan, with sales reached to 3.16 trillion yuan. Wang said the accumulated surplus of cross-border foreign exchange receipts and payments to customers reached 1.7 billion US dollars. The overall surplus of banking foreign exchange sale and purchase to customers was 20.5 billion US dollars. Anyway, either from an overall perspective or from the perspective of customers, the forex market in the first quarter remained balanced by large between supply and demand. She added that the current COVID-19 is not likely to batter the balance of China's current account in the long run, as the domestic economic structure will not change easily. Wang also noted that the SAFE has rolled out a raft of policies to support virus-hit foreign trade sector, including facilitating antivirus-related financing services, lifting caps on foreign debt for certain firms, and encouraging the public to use online platforms to handle foreign exchange business. Wang said China's forex market is witnessing a more rational and mature development trend, demonstrating that the market players are confident in the fundamentals of the Chinese economy.
As the COVID-19 outbreak is largely subdued in China, the country is set to accelerate economic recovery and gain momentum in its post-epidemic development plan. According to a commentary published by China Media Group, China's Statistics Bureau reported that the country's gross domestic product, known as GDP, decreased 6.8% in the first quarter compared to a year ago. The drop was unsurprising given that China suspended most of its economic activities to save lives threatened by the deadly coronavirus. The economic contraction was a price to be paid following the mayhem brought about by the outbreak. The nation is now returning to work after a 2-month pause, and the decline in major economic indicators narrowing in the third month, both of which sent out a strong signal. In March, the industrial output of major enterprises fell 1.1% year-on-year, 12.4 percentage points less than the decline in January and February. The total value of imports and exports was down by 0.8% year-on-year, 8.7 percentage points less than the decrease in the first 2 months. The Purchasing Managers' Index, or PMI, an indicator of business activity, rose to 52 in March from 35.7 in February. A PMI reading over 50 indicates expansion, while a reading below 50 suggests contraction. The new figure provides evidence that the Chinese economy is rebounding rapidly. Meanwhile, the country's employment remained generally stable. In March, the surveyed unemployment rate in urban areas was 5.9%, 0.3 percentage points lower than that of February. In March, the Consumer Price Index, a measure of inflation, went up by 4.3% year-on-year, 0.9 percentage points lower than February, which reflects increased food supply and enhanced logistics services. Notably, the rapid growth of China's new economic momentum continues. In the first quarter, the information transmission, software and information technology services sector went up by 13.2%. The financial services sector rose 6%, and internet-based sectors such as e-commerce, Online education and healthcare services also grew quickly. Online retail sales of physical goods were worth some $260 billion in March, up 5.9% from last year, 2.9 percentage points higher than the growth recorded in the first 2 months. Live streaming was also booming during the epidemic. The fundamentals of the industrial system, the forces driving the Chinese economy, were left unchanged amid the COVID-19 outbreak. The country will continue to deepen reforms and open up its market, while also promoting innovation, continuously stimulating vitality and exploring the potential of the economy, all of which are bolstering investor confidence in the Chinese market.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer said on April the 17th that she's hopeful the state can begin to re-engage parts of its economy beginning on May the 1st, days after facing a barrage of criticism for her strict measures to combat the new coronavirus. President Donald Trump, who has traded jabs with Whitmer over the state's handling of the outbreak, tweeted, "Liberate Michigan," along with similar tweets naming other states with other Democratic governors. During a press conference, Whitmer said she hoped Trump's tweet wasn't encouraging more protests and that anyone with a high profile should be assuring that the public that the Americans will get through the outbreak. Whitmer, floated as a potential running mate for presumed Democratic candidate nominee Joe Biden for the election against Trump in November, has imposed some of the country's toughest limits on travel and business, which drew thousands of protesters to the state's capital, Lansing. Sweeping stay-at-home orders in 42 U.S. states to combat the virus have shuttered businesses, disrupted lives, and decimated the economy, and some protesters have begun taking to the streets to urge governors to rethink the restrictions. Meanwhile, the head of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce urged Whitmer to revise her stay-at-home order, which he called too restrictive. Rich Studley said she should recognize some parts of the state were not as hard hit and could reopen sooner. The governors for Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky have formed a partnership to work together on restarting the economies in their states, which collectively account for about 16% of total U.S. economic output.
President Donald Trump lashed out at 4 Democratic governors on April 17th for their handling of the coronavirus pandemic as tensions heightened between the Republican leader and states over how and when to ease restrictions put in place to contain the outbreak. In a Twitter post, Trump taunted Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer by tweeting "Liberate Michigan," an apparent reference to sharp criticism that included street protests over her strict measures to tamp down the outbreak in her state. Trump directed similar liberate tweets at Minnesota and Virginia, where Democratic governors have been the targets of similar protests from Trump supporters opposed to tough stay-home measures designed to contain the coronavirus. TV news footage showed a large crowd protesting in St. Paul, Minnesota, for an end to stay-at-home measures aimed at fighting the coronavirus outbreak. The governors of Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky have formed a partnership to work together on restarting the economies in their states, they said in a statement. These states collectively account for about 16% of total U.S. economic output.
This has been Business Review, your daily source for the most critical financial stories. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.